Bluth and Jeffrey Katzenberg are the most famous people who ever worked for Disney and later founded a studio to compete with it. However, there is one more name we should not forget. Richard Rich was also a member of the Disney family during the 1970s and 1980s as one of the directors of The Fox and the Hound and The Black Cauldron, you know, the Disney Dark Age. In the 1990s he started to make his own movies, and because we hardly know anything about him, it is evident that this was not a successful attempt. Not like Bluth and Katzenberg, at least. Yet his filmography also deserves some attention. And he gets it today. There are no other ranking videos on YouTube like this. No other Richard Rich ranking video. But we are going to do it. I will say, I'm only going to discuss his hand-drawn animated movies, because he has apparently spent the last 20 years doing only 3D, Alpha and Omega and Swan Princess sequels. And they look awful, so I'm not going to discuss anything of that. So, only his movies, counting from 1994 until 2001 today. Let's begin. At number 6, The Trumpet of the Swan. This is a movie that my cousins used to love. Why? I don't have a clue. The story is about Louis, the trumpeter swan, who is born without a voice. His father steals a trumpet for him so he can make a sound. That idea in itself is good, but the movie stumbles into a lot of clichés and strange plot twists. For example, Louis learns to read and write in a classroom with people, and he has to find a job to pay for the trumpet. I find that a bit silly. The whole idea of his father learning to love his son, even though he can't make a sound, along the way is well thought of, and that he wants to court the girl of his dreams, Serena, is also nice. This movie is certainly not a classic, but certainly fun and innocent for children. Just rather boring. At number 5, The Scarecrow. If you've never heard of this movie, I completely understand. I had to do some serious searching to find it. The Scarecrow is a direct-to-video cartoon, and not a very good one. The elephant in the room is the witch Mrs. Beebe, who acts as a narrator and character in the movie, and she is terribly annoying. Luckily, she's gone after the first 10 minutes, and the movie gets a little bit better. I like the whole story of the Scarecrow, who is brought to life and falls in love with the orphan girl Polly. Polly is quite similar to Belle, and the gentleman quite similar to Gaston, but it still works. The villains are quite bland, but the sarcastic mouse and flying broom can provoke a chuckle from myself. I think it's a shame that Polly never finds out that her lover, who becomes a human, is actually a scarecrow. It goes a bit against the don't lie about yourself idea that is so well put forward in Aladdin, for example. The songs are cliché, but not bad. The Scarecrow won't win any Oscars, but for what it's worth, it's a direct-to-video fairy tale. And it succeeds at that. At number 4, The King and I. Beautifully animated, with very good songs. The people are realistic, except for Master Little, who is cartoonish, but because he has to represent an idiot, that fits. I like him a lot in the movie. In the leading role we have Anna, a British teacher of the Mary Poppins type, complete with the singing and the occasional arrogant tone. Yet she is not like the King of Siam himself. What a pain in the ass that is. Really not a nice man. Crown Prince Hula Longhorn and Tuptin are the classic couple in love, but I can't really call them redundant. Overall, their relationship is an important plot element in the story. San Louis' Monkey Munchie is of course a copy-paste version of Abu from Aladdin. However, the similarities with Aladdin don't stop there. The King's Prime Minister, Kralahome, who can also do some magic, is the Ridgecrest Studios' version of Jafar. And the roles of Aladdin and Jasmine are simply reversed in this movie. Instead of the princess falling in love with the poor wretch, in this case it is the prince who falls in love with the servant girl. And instead of a tiger we have a black panther. The movie is certainly one of Richard Rich's better movies, although that's not saying much. At number 3 we have the third Swan Princess movie, The Mystery of the Enchanted Kingdom. As a child I always thought the third princess movie was the least, and that is still the case. Still, it is entertaining enough. Derek and Odette are confronted by a third sorcerer, named Zelda. She has magic orbs, probably the most important and powerful invention after Rothbard's Great Beast. She's okay as a villain, but not as strong as the previous two. The rest of the story is the usual. Derek keeps a secret, Odette briefly becomes a swan, the animals save them. We do have an extra animal in the mix this time, the mockingbird wizard, who can imitate all kinds of voices, and is therefore used as a slave by Zelda. The songs in this movie are all quite forgettable, although Roger's Zelda is an interesting change because this sarcastic character never sang before. It's a good enough conclusion for the original trilogy, and let's not speak about the CGI junk that came out over a decade after this movie. At 2, The Swan Princess, The Secret of the Castle. A typical sequel to a hit movie. To be honest, purely subjectively, this was my favorite Swan Princess movie growing up. Now that I watched it again, I can see as an adult it is objectively much less strong than the original movie, but still very solid. Derek and Odette are still a couple, but Derek has been neglecting Odette a bit lately. This shows another side of a prince and princess couple that we don't see much at Disney, the wedding years. After falling in love comes the thaw in every relationship, when everything becomes self-evident. Of course, the movie doesn't just focus on this. We also have a new villain, Clavius. As cliché as it gets, Clavius is an old partner of Rothbard. Together they created the Forbidden Arts, and Clavius wants to find them again. Derek's mother also gets a slightly bigger role in the movie, which is also nice. The soundtrack is a lot less good than in the original movie, and most of the jokes and elements that appear in this movie are just repeats of the first one. Still, The Magic of Love is certainly a memorable song, and Clavius is at least very entertaining, yet clumsier than Rothbard as a villain. And at number 1, of course, no surprises here, The Swan Princess of 1994. I will always thank Richard Rich for making this movie. Despite all the weak to downright embarrassing projects he started afterwards. The Swan Princess is the beautiful story of Princess Odette, who is turned into a swan by the wizard Rothbard, and can turn back into a princess every night. Prince Derek must now prove his undying love to her to break the curse. Odette and Derek are a beautiful couple, and I can forgive the plot hole that they aren't actually in love, but then they are. The side characters in this movie are great too. Rothbard's dim-witted sidekick and the Queen are fun, as are Rogers and Brom. But the highlights are of course our talking animals, the turtle Speedy, the puffin named Puffin, and the French frog Jean-Bab, with a great soundtrack that goes from For Longer Than Forever and No Fear to a montage song when Odette and Derek are children. This movie has everything a great picture should have, and the animation is also very beautiful. The ending may have been stolen from Sleeping Beauty, but it remains a great movie. Admittedly, nostalgia is also an important factor, but this is simply perfection. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. Like I said, this is the only Richard Rich ranking on YouTube. And let's keep it that way. See you later. Bye.